Hey guys, it's Doglightning, and if you click this video, it's because you're interested in seeing my opinions on the best mythics for Neeko and her AP and AD builds, and I'll be going over just the random core items too. Before I get to that, you can skip to it if you want, but I'm just going to quickly say that recently I'm going to be switching up my schedule. I hired a new editor to be putting up higher quality videos because my channel wasn't really growing as much, so basically there's going to be less videos a week but higher quality. On Mondays or Tuesdays they're going to be posting their video, and I'm going to be posting one video on Thursdays like today where it's going to be more educational content, and throughout the other days we're going to be putting up YouTube shorts. So hopefully we'll see if that will make my channel increase or not. So if you like those, thumbs up. Let me know below if you like the video that was released on Tuesday, and let's go into the mythics. So items, Neeko mythics. So we'll start off with the AP. I guess I'll show you quick in case you don't want to watch the full video. These are the AP mythics. Those are the AD mythics. So let's go into it. So for the AP mythics, there is 4 options if you're playing mid lane, 3. To start off, people always ask me why I don't build Ludens. So Neeko is a champion who wants to go in very deep into team fights, and she gets a lot of pressure onto her and takes a lot of damage. Because of that, you really want HP on Neeko. Ludens does not have HP, which is a stat Neeko really needs. So that's why I don't go Ludens. I think it's not that great on her because it's a mana item. So these mythics, as you can see, all 4 of them have HP, which is really important for AP Neeko. So there's Everfrost, Rocket Belt, Night Harvester, and Shirelia's. So Shirelia's is obviously for support, but we'll start off with the mid lane ones. So Everfrost. Everfrost is a great mythic. You can use it to extend your CC duration. You can root, ulti, Everfrost while your ulti is going off to keep them in your ulti as it's going. Super good for just CC chaining and peeling your team. So if you are going to be peeling, this is the item you want. If you are going to be engaging, there is Rocket Belt. Rocket Belt allows you to ulti, and then at the last second, you flash Rocket Belt and you go for engages. So it's kind of peel and engage. What are you doing? And lastly, there's Night Harvester. I personally don't run Night Harvester that much, but I do know there's a guy named the Amaro Combo that I have talked to before, and he runs it in Grandmaster Elo NA, so it's clearly good. This is the Ludens. If you like Ludens, I would recommend switching over to Night Harvester. This is basically Ludens except the HP version. If you get Mana Flow Band plus Biscuits, you won't have mana issues, and you're just basically going to have HP, which is good. In my opinion, Night Harvester is really good if you think you're going to be split pushing a lot. These two are really good for team fighting. I think Night Harvester is good for split pushing because when you're split pushing, you're going to be in extended fights with someone and you can get multiple procs in Night Harvester, and it's super good. But I also recommend Night Harvester to people who are very good with item actives. So if you find yourself, there's too many buttons, you never remember to use your Rocket Belt or your Everfrost, go for the Night Harvester, please. It's honestly really good. And finally, there's Shirelia's. I would only get this as support. So as a support main, I almost always go Rocket Belt. Although, again, if you can't use actives, I think Night Harvester is good. And if you want to peel, Everfrost is good. But I almost always go Rocket Belt. Shirelia's is great if you are going to be inting. If you are inting, go Shirelia's. So I'll usually buy an Amp Tome, right? And I die first blood. I get a Ruby Crystal. I die again in lane, and it's like, okay, I just died twice in a row. Let's go Shirelia's. It's a cheap power spike. There's also another time I get Shirelia's, something that I put down here, but I could put up as a mythic. A lot of games I rush Zhonya's first. If the enemy team has a bunch of assassins, even in the mid lane, if it's like I'm facing a Zed or something, don't be scared to just rush Zhonya's versus a Katarina, Zed, Fizz, Akali. You can just rush Zhonya's first item. It's really good. So, yeah, or in the bot lane, I run it too. So, also as a support, if I rush Zhonya's first, I'll usually go Night Harvester second, or Shirelia's second because it's cheaper. But, yeah, these are the mythics I go, where you can also go Zhonya's first if you want. So, for the core build now, these are, in general, the only AP items that I think are very good on Neeko. So, to start off, Death Cap. Obviously, if you're snowballing, if you're snowballing, you want one of these two. I think Death Cap is far much better than the Horizon Focus. The only reason I get Horizon Focus is if I back with 1050 gold and I get the component of this, which is the Hectech Alternator, then I'll consider it. But if you can back and get a needlessly large rod and another one, like Death Cap is just always better than Horizon Focus if you're snowballing. That being said, Horizon Focus is very good too, so don't be afraid to get that. Void Staff is amazing on Neeko. If you're not snowballing, I would put this. So if you're snowballing, basically your first item is a mythic, your second is usually Zhonya's, and then your third is one of these 3 if you don't need the anti-heal. So if you're snowballing, get one of these 2. If you're not snowballing, get Void Staff. Void Staff's also very good if the enemy team has a lot of tanks. Morello's super good item on Neeko because, again, Neeko really wants HP, and this item gives HP, so if their team has a lot of healers, Morello's is a great option. And if you need MR, I usually don't get Banshees ever. I think Abyssal Mask is sleeper OP on Neeko. If you lead with your E or your ulti, you actually aren't at a DPS loss compared to if you get Banshees. It's actually, this 15% damage up is basically equivalent to this ADAP, except on top of it, you're increasing your whole team's damage by 15% on your AoE root, on your AoE alt, and if you go and combo Everfrost with Abyssal Mask, you also get it there. So Abyssal Mask is really, really good with her, but the nice thing about Banshee's Veil is it's good versus champions like a Nidalee who's going to spear you, or a Blitzcrank hook because of the shield. Another thing about Banshee's Veil is it has a better components, so when you're sitting on these components, you don't feel much weaker, where when you're building the Abyssal Mask, you feel much weaker, but I really like this game item. If they have 2+ AP carries, I think it's really good. That same guy, Omero Combo, I told you about, who runs Night Harvester and Grandmaster, I actually went to his stream once and I told him about Abyssal Mask, and now if I look him up, he runs Abyssal Mask 1 in 5 games on Neeko mid and Grandmaster. He goes Night Harvester into Abyssal Mask sometimes. So, great item. Anyways, if you made it through that, it's time for the AD items. So I got the AD Mythics, and then I split it into the crit items and the on hit because I think both builds are viable. So to start off, the AD Mythics. So we have only 2 Mythics. I don't like Gale Force. People are always like, oh, but you can use Gale Force to land alt. Neeko alt when you're going AD does no damage. It has no AP. You should be thinking of how often do you see a Xayah? That's like saying going Gale Force on, well, I mean, Xayah does go Gale Force, but how often does Xayah ulti and Gale Force in so that she can hit her E, right? Like you're usually using a Xayah alt defensively. Same with Neeko alt. You're usually using it defensively and you're not using it to go in. You're using it when the enemy dives you and you ulti. So there's 2 options. You have Kraken Slayer, which is very good if the enemy team has very beefy frontliners and your job is going to be front to back team fighting. Or you have Immortal Shield Bow, which I like if the team has a bunch of squishies. You will be losing DPS from the not having Kraken, but I found with all the squishies, you do enough DPS anyways with this. And yeah, I prefer this versus squishy teams and versus tanky teams Kraken. So for the 2 builds, there's crit and on hit. I'll tell you the difference between them. Crit is, they're both equal in power once you get to 3 item spike, and debatably crit is stronger after that. On hit, is big strength, is 2 item spike, it's a lot stronger. It's very strong at the 2 item spike, especially if you get something cheap like a Rage Bait, it's a lot better. So anyways, we'll go into it. So the crit Neeko items. So for crit Neeko, I almost always would go Runons into IE. The reason why Runons is super good is it procs the secondary bolts, and those bolts count towards Neeko empowered auto. So if you're autoing and there's 3 targets, you're getting a Neeko empowered auto on every auto attack. So I'd go Runons into IE because at that point you have 60% crit. At that point, it really just depends. If you need lifesteal, you can go for the Bloodthirster, like say they have a lot of poke. If you need more damage, like they don't have anything you need, you can go for Phantom Dancers, a great more damage. If they have tanks, you can go for the LDR, and if they have need anti-heal, you can go for a Moral Reminder, and of course items like GA are okay and stuff like that if you need defensive, but in general these are the items I'd build on crit Neeko. And finally, on hit Neeko. For on hit Neeko, it really depends. So you always want to be looking at these 3 items. So Rage Blade, even though it is bugged on Neeko, and a lot of people are going to get mad looking at this, if you test on a target dummy, Rage Blade as a second item does equal damage to Bork and Wit's End. And it's so much cheaper. So if you go for like one of these items into Rage Blade, you're just spiking super early in the game. It's super, super, super good item on Neeko. The thing about it is these ones are more expensive, but it gives you lifesteal and it gives you magic resist. So that's the trade-off. So if the enemy team has a lot of APs, obviously you go Wit's End. If the enemy team has tanks, you go Bork. And if they don't have the need for shredding a tank and you don't need to have magic resist, Rage Blade is definitely the best DPS option. Comboing Rage Blade with Bork is always wanted because Rage Blade will double proc your Bork, which is doing percent HP. And then after you get these 2 items, I really like getting Runons because first of all, the crit is being turned into on hit, so that's fine. And again, it's applying the second bolt. So you're getting empowered autos on every auto from the crit build, but on top of that, it's AoE procking Bork on the side people, the percent HP, and because of Rage Blade, you're double procking Bork. So you're AoE procking Bork, and every other auto, you're double procking Bork AoE. It's kind of crazy, and if you need anti-heal, there's the Mortal Reminder. You could probably throw the LDR in here too if you need to shred tanks, but I found usually just the Rage Blade plus freaking Blade of the Ring King to be enough to shred tanks anyways. So yeah, this is my Neeko builds. Hope this helped you guys out with all of this, and like, comment, and subscribe. And again, let me know if you like that video that was posted on Tuesday and you like that style. I'm paying this editor a lot more money, and that's why there's going to be less videos, but hopefully the quality is up higher and maybe it'll make my channel grow better. So just trying stuff out because the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again and hope for better results. I'm not doing that. I'm trying to mix things up and see if it will get better results. So thanks, guys. I love y'all.